I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC. Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, with TC.
All right, welcome. This is another episode of Financial Literacy with TC. I'm your boy TC. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me. So many podcasts you can choose to listen to, but you always choose to come back and listen to mine. I'm so appreciative of that. Today, I'm super excited because I have a special friend, a friend who I go back with a long time. But before I give her introduction and her flowers, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share to the podcast. Financial Literacy with TC is about Black representation and talking about finances, but also highlighting representation in different industries that we don't typically see Black people in. And especially we don't see them dominating, or they're not talked about and highlighted enough. So with that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you comment, like on all social media platforms. But with that being said, today, my guest is an awesome friend of mine. I've known her for many years. We went to high school together. I want to say, definitely middle school together, correct?
I think, or was it ninth?
Yeah, probably like first year.
Yeah.
Or last year, first year of high school or early middle school. But anyway, so we've known each other for a while. And we connected this past year at the Fab 40 Under 40 awards dinner. I think a friend of yours, if I'm not mistaken, Danielle?
Yes, Danielle Colquitt.
Shout out to her. I love my classmates. And then I was also awarded that same evening. So we reconnected there.
Shout out to you.
Thank you. We've been social media friends for a long time, but we hadn't seen each other in many, many, many years. Because we were all doing our own things, being very successful in our own ways. So my guest today, she works for a major airline. She's a flight attendant. She's definitely traveled the world. She's been to places like Jamaica, France, the United Kingdom, Colombia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, all places that are on my bucket list. And she's been doing a lot of amazing things in her life. She's definitely traveled the world, traveled the country. And I just wanted to make sure that, I brought her on because I wanted to make sure that we see someone in the industry that's predominantly dominated by not only white people, but white women. So there's not a ton of, Black women in the industry, in the field, who are having success and enjoying life and, taking it by storm. So I wanted to have her come on and just share not only information to me, but information to you guys, so that way you can feel empowered and emboldened to be like, oh, I can travel the world, or I can get into that industry. So we're really just going to have a fun time talking about it. I got my wine.
My sparkling water.
And we're just going to have fun. And but without further ado, I want to thank my guest, Aneice London. She is awesome. If you don't follow her on social media platforms, she does an amazing job highlighting the industry. She does an amazing job talking about what it's like to be a flight attendant. She's done phenomenal things in the community. She's from this city, Pittsburgh, and she's just a good friend and a good person who, I love to reach out to when I want to talk about, the travel goals that I have. So without further ado, Aneice London, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. Yes. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Hopefully I did your intro pretty good.
Yes. I'll take it.
But no, I always believe that no one can do an introduction better than you. So is there anything that I didn't say that, you want to highlight?
No, actually, you touched everything. This is my first time having an introduction, so
okay.
To me it was good.
All right, so I set the standard.
Yes.
So let's jump right into it. What year did you start? I think you're a few years in. Correct me if I'm wrong. So what year did you start and become a flight attendant, and just overall, how's it been going?
Yes. So I started right after COVID. This February the 9th made 3 years.
Oh, nice. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yes.
Happy belated birthday also.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. It made 3 years for me. I was actually in training on my birthday. I am class 622 at my university. So that means I graduated March 15th, 2022.
Nice.
For my class.
Okay.
Yes.
So because I want to educate people on what that looks like. Anything you can share on like how long it is, how rigorous it is?
So with the industry in general, it is based on your airline. So I always tell people to do your research. Do your research before you go in, because every airline is looking for something different.
Right.
Training is always something different. It all depends on the airline. For me, training was 6 weeks.
Okay.
They give you pamphlet this thick that you need to study. I think day 2, they were like, we're taking a test.
Ooh.
So you get what is called 12 KSVs, which are knowledge, skill based tests. You get 12 of them.
Okay.
You can only fail 2, and you only get 2 makeups. So you can't use a makeup with a makeup. And I will be honest, I definitely failed 2.
Okay.
So a fire was lit up under me after that second fail, because I'm like, this is it. And I had given up so much to get there. You also have, I believe it was like 15. They call them MSVs, which are motor skills. Okay. So it's basically, they test you on the doors, the knowledge of the aircraft. They make sure that you know the drills. You do what is also known as an EME, which is an emergency situation. So they set it up as if you were in a real emergency, and you can only rely on what we call a FAM, which is a flight attendant manual, which has all the information you need to do your job in there. You can only rely on that. And the job is very teamwork based. So you can only rely on your peers who are taking the test. You also do what is called an IOE, which is an initial flight operation, where you work a flight. The customers on the flight don't know that you're not a full flight attendant, but you are working with other flight attendants. So don't let that scare you. And you do all the steps of a flight attendant. And in those situations, anything can happen. I had a classmate where she had a medical emergency, and they were like, what are you supposed to do? Like, get to it.
It's very random.
Yes, you don't know. Like my IOE, it went so smooth. I went to Ponce, Puerto Rico, there and back, no issues.
Nice.
But I had classmates who were flying during a winter storm. One girl got stuck in New York. She actually missed graduation. She passed, but they got stuck up there. Another girl, she had somebody had a heart attack on the flight, and she had to act as if she was working.
Wow.
And after that, if you pass all those things, they give you your wings, and they do what is called a pinning, where you get on stage, they announce your name, and they give you your actual flight attendant wings that have your name on it, and then they release you into the world.
Got you. No, and honestly, as you're talking, I'm like, yo, they need to hire you as the promotional person. I'm like, yo, you really gave some great detail on what it feels like or looks like to, go through that training.
Yeah, it sounds fun, but it has stressful moments.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, because what you're undertaking is a very serious job. Like, you can't be half-assed. You have to be, responsible. You have to be someone they know can handle yourself. So that's an industry where, you can't play games.
I agree, because I had a friend. He was a flight attendant 2 years before me. And I was just like, oh, it's just, would you like some pretzels and some peanuts? And when I went to training, by the 3rd day, I called him. I said, oh, bro, this is a serious job. He was like, I told you. Yeah. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is a serious job.
Right. And see, I love that, because a lot of times we don't have the behind the scenes of what a day-to-day, what it really feels like, looks like. We just see the easy breezy parts. And it ain't like that. You got to put some rigorous time and energy and be dedicated to, I call it a craft, because let's be honest, not many of us can handle the things that flight attendants go through.
I agree. I've had a ton of people in my class who, after the first month, 2 weeks on the line, they were like, I'm done.
I'm out. Yep.
Yeah. So I can agree with that. Training cannot prepare you for what actually comes. It has to be something that I tell everybody, you have to really want it.
Got you. No, and honestly, that leads me to the next question. What inspired you to actually do this? Because I know, and we kind of talked about this off camera when we were in school together. I don't remember one of us saying, I want to be in finances. I know I didn't. Or I want to be a flight attendant. So what just kind of, sparked or inspired you to want to take on this profession?
It was 3 things. One, I had an aunt who was actually a flight attendant. She stopped after 9/11. Okay. One of my favorite aunts, but she used to always tell me, She used to always tell me, like, your personality is too big for Pittsburgh. You need to get out of the city. She's like, you will make an amazing flight attendant. You're good with people. I've always had a job like bartending and waiting tables on the side. Yeah. So I had another close friend.
You have a great personality.
Thank you. After COVID hit, I just was like, I was so sick of my job. I'm like, I can't do it. I had a close friend and he was like, tell me all the things that you like. And he made a list. And it came up like flight attendant, fashion designer, and a bartender. And I was like, I wonder how I combine all those things. And so my friend who is a flight attendant, him and another best friend, we were on three-way one day. And I'm like, I'm about to quit my job and become a flight attendant. And they were like, I've always wanted to do that. Right. And with the job, you do get a lot of pushback. So I tried, like right before COVID, I got a lot of no's. And I gave up. And then right after COVID.
You mean from the airline?
Yes. Okay. Right after COVID, I was like, you know what? I really do want this. And it went, I think I applied in like August. And then by February, I was flying down for training. Like it went so quick.
Yeah, no, and that's awesome because a lot of times people don't realize the things that they say they want to do. I feel like if you don't have an instant mentor or somebody who's pushing you to stay on course, especially coming out of high school, into college, you can easily get skewed from what you envisioned yourself doing when you were a little kid.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of, because I do a lot of speaking engagements, and I'm in the high schools and I'm in the middle schools, and you always ask them, what do you want to be? Or how do you want to make money? Can I try to phrase it to where they're thinking more beyond just, I want to play football, I want to play basketball. I'm like, yeah, okay. But realistically, you know, a lot of things have to line up for you to actually achieve the goals you set when you were a youth or adolescent. And I feel like, you know, we're testaments to, you know, a lot of things happened to where we had to pivot. And I think you having friends who, you know, took the time to pour into you to say.
Always. I'm so thankful for them. I can't believe they tolerate me.
Hey, there's pros and cons to everybody. So, so with that being said, and I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I just kind of want to get it on record as far as the question goes. What is one thing about flight attendants that most people don't realize?
I would say how much goes, even outside of training, how much goes into the day to day. There are a lot of things that take place before you can even, as a passenger, enter the aircraft. Yeah. There are a lot of things that we are responsible for. I feel like I am also a paid therapist. Yep. I've run into so many people that you would be surprised what they're traveling for, or just need someone to talk to, need help. I've turned into a babysitter. Yeah. I've seen so many people traveling with kids alone, and it's like, can you hold the baby? Can you watch the baby? Like a doctor. Yep. There's just so much day to day that comes with it, on top of every day is something different. Like you may have a set schedule, but you don't know what's going to happen within that day.
I love that. And truth be told, so my background in banking, I kind of always correlate different industries because I feel like it's similar to the, other than the beautiful travel and different switching of sceneries, a lot of times we're therapists in the financial game because we have to ask so many personal questions about people, and they have to give a lot of story and detail about what you need money for, or you know. So to correlate and translate to what you're saying is very similar to where we're titled and this is the job description, but I feel like for both industries I can't say we paid enough because
agree definitely agree for that,
because you a therapist on that. I'm like, and like you said, all the other things you got to deal with, and so a lot of times it's not for the faint of heart, or for lack of a better word, weak-minded. Because you just have to be mentally prepared for the rigors of what's going to come. So I appreciate you sharing that. Yes. Let's get into something fun. You traveled to some incredible destinations. What would you say is your most memorable, and why? And while you're thinking, I'm going to tell you the one I've been most excited to see you have been. And, at some point we will show the photos. I loved your trip to Indonesia, Bali, to be specific. Okay. Because it's on my bucket list, and it was a place like I've seen, because we're on age of social media, TikTok. You get to see all these places through other people's eyes. But you were the first person I could say I personally know, and I got to see it through your experience and things you shared on your social media. And it warmed me because I'm like, ooh, I definitely want to go. Like, it gave me a good feeling that, and not necessarily like our paths to getting there will be similar or the same, but it inspired me to like, oh, damn, I definitely can go there. And I always like to go places where I know someone from a personal standpoint who has been there, so I can always reach out and get the ins and outs.
Yes.
Hey, can you teach me or tell me? And so that might not be the one you pick, but for me, that's it. So.
Okay. Yes. I actually have two. Bali was one, and Colombia.
Okay.
Bali, I did. Shout out to my friend As Alice Travel. She's a travel agent. That was my first time all the way on the other side of the world. I did it once before when I was younger. We lived in Germany because my dad was in the military. But
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I was young, so I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But it was my first, and I was so nervous. But I would say my favorite thing about Bali was, one, it looks like the photos that you see.
Right.
It looks like the photos, and the people, the natives from there. There are a lot of people who have migrated and are like taking over, but the natives from there are just
so amazing.
Yes.
I can see why people.
They're just so nice and helpful. Like, so there was, I think when I was exchanging the money, the man could have basically cheated me because I was like, I miscounted, and he was so honest about it. But like, the people there are just so nice.
Love that.
They're so kind. And it's also weird because like they have the ability to be like way more advanced, like China, Japan, and they live the simple life and they use what they need. And the food and the service, amazing.
Okay.
And it's so cheap. Like, you can get an Uber for like $2.
See, I love it.
Like, it's just so cheap. And then I would say Colombia, because a lot of things that I hear traveling as a Black person, like my mom will push that narrative on me, like, go to a Black island, go to a Black island. But I'm like, we're everywhere. Yeah, we are everywhere. For sure. And seeing that
we need to be more places too.
Yes, in Colombia, that it was heartwarming because me and my friend, we did an excursion. It takes you to the Palenque village. They're the first freed Blacks from Africa. And these people still live as if they were there. They speak their native tongue. They're so beautiful. They look exactly like us. Right. And even being back in the like actual city, we went to Cartagena. People recognize, like, hey, you're Black. Like, when we were on the street, my friend's like, oh, you guys Palenque. We're like, no, we're just Black. But it's like, there are Black people everywhere, no matter where you go. That. And I hate that people spin that narrative like, oh, I don't know how it feels for Black people. Or also, a lot of people say these places aren't safe. America's not safe. Like, with the stuff that we have going on nowadays, it's not safe. But I felt so safe in both those places. I love that. Especially in Colombia, being 2 women alone that went on the trip. Yeah. So safe. Like, Uber drivers were so friendly, everything.
I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate you sharing that because, again, like I said, that gives me a level of comfort that I didn't have prior to, seeing you go there and then having a conversation with you about it as well. And then just debunking a lot of the stereotypes that we hear, because I can't say that I tend to trust everybody that I see on TikTok and on these social media
platforms. Is true too, yes.
Because I always know that they have an agenda they're pushing. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I know the person who's on social media and I've personally talked to them and I can trust that what they're sharing is from an authentic and genuine position and not just to get their views up or, paint a picture or a narrative that doesn't coincide with what I'm looking for. Exactly. So I appreciate that greatly. And I would encourage everybody to do the same. Reach out to the friends who are doing things you want to do and get their honest and truthful and authentic opinion. So I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, of course.
You have been to a lot of places in the country as well. What specific city would you say has been your most fun or enjoyable, or you find the most value going to?
So my cities are always based off if I know someone there or what I can do there. Gotcha. So for me, if you have good weather and a pool, because I love water, I'm sold, and food. So I always have to say New Orleans is my top pick because no matter where I go, I'm eating. I don't care if I pack the lunch for 3 days. Right. I'm eating something out. So I'm always sold by food. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
no, I mean, I'm gonna keep it 100. That'll be why I choose the places I go to too. So yeah, I mean, if the food ain't good, it goes downhill from there.
Exactly.
Because I'll be honest, I mean, yeah, you want to see the the architect of the city and all that. I ain't that artsy, to be honest. So
no, I get it. Yeah,
I gotta gravitate to things that is different from where I'm from, but they also still speak to what I enjoy.
And as you should, because that's what traveling is about, getting an experience, but you also want to take something from it.
Right, for sure. So I appreciate that. So just to get a little bit more into the life of a flight attendant, I think you did an amazing job talking about what training looks like, talking about the ebbs and flows of different aspects of your day. But what is typically like the biggest duties? Because if I'm not mistaken, you got, I don't even know if promotion is the right word, but you got moved to a co-leader. I'm saying that right?
Oh yes, that has to do with my position and what routes I work. But yes, correct.
Okay, because I was like, I don't know what that is.
Yes,
maybe that's a promotion. Okay.
Yes, it is. Okay. I had to actually, even though I'm with the company, I had to actually apply for the position.
Nice.
Interview, so give 3 peer reviews. Yes, and then go to another set of training.
Okay.
So,
now how did that change your responsibility? Like, when I guess you kind of answered it when you said the routes and stuff, but like, did that add a level of increased pay? Did that, like, how much did that?
So it did add a level of increased pay,
which is always good. Yeah.
Yes, always. When not working those flights that I applied to work for. Mm-hmm. So what I applied for was called a transatlantic leader. Okay. So to get into the program, you actually have to be in what we call our MINT program and become an onboard lead. So that's still a separate training. So you had to learn a few extra rules, make sure you're aware and up to date with your fam and knowledge base. Gotcha. And usually with those flights, you just do like West Coast flights and you deal with our first class passengers, which we call our seating MINT. Gotcha. But when you're not working those flights, they look at you as almost like a role model. Okay. To make sure you're not necessarily enforcing the rules because you're not anyone's boss with those positions, gotcha. But that you're just setting a certain tone for others to follow.
Got you.
So yes, and then when I became the transatlantic leader, it was the same thing, which only allows me to do our transatlantic flights, which are all to like Europe.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like in any industry, there's levels and tiers.
Yes, okay. Correct. And with that transatlantic lead, it does come with twice as much work on the aircraft. You are constantly working, whether you're working first class or with core passengers. You are constantly doing something.
Got you. So with that being said, what is the most rewarding part of your job? Other than I will say, because I ain't gonna hold you. First thing I get the travel. I know that has to be number one. So unless it's not.
So it is the travel, but the travel on a different level. So a lot of my friends that I was extremely close with, they moved. Like one left, moved to DC. Another one got married, moved to Charlotte. I have 2 friends in DC now. Another friend lives all the way in Texas. One of my closest cousins is in Texas. And let's be clear, traveling is expensive. I don't care what anybody says. It's expensive and it costs. And the most expensive part is where you stay and how you get there.
For sure.
Because of this job, I've been able to do that for free.
Yes.
So it gives me the opportunity to see my nieces, my friends. It's like, oh, okay, hey, you free this Saturday? I'm hopping on a flight. I'm gonna come see you guys.
Love that.
So I will say it is the traveling part, but not just for like seeing the world. It's helped me keep in touch with some of my closest people.
I love that. And I love the context you give. And I apologize for structuring it that way, but it was like, you kind of hit on giving people insight, like the purpose and reason why and the benefits of your job, which is, you get to do something you enjoy, but then you also have that aspect of, I get to connect with my family because I got family in other places that I don't see.
I haven't seen for years. Yeah, it's hard.
Like you said, unless there's a reason for me to be in that city, I really, it's hard. I ain't got the money to just be doing that regularly,
Exactly.
So I appreciate that. When it comes to the challenges, and I kind of want to, I kind of want to structure to where, like, if you have insight or thoughts on it, you can say so, but if not, when it comes to these social media viral videos of airline employees popping off at each other, popping off at the like, I guess my question is very simple. What is the challenges flight attendants face with passengers? But I kind of give that context because we see the videos.
We do.
We see, and it's like, that's crazy that it happens to the level and degree that it does. Because I'm like, I know, and I don't even want to throw out and promote any specific viral video, but there just be the wildest ones where I'm like, bro, you do realize it's going to live in infamy. And you're going to, and it's just like, a lot of times I don't even think it's their video where they're making money off of it. It'd be one thing if I was like, oh, I'm going to stage this to make money. Yeah. But you just be viral and it wasn't even you who caught the video and you making somebody else rich. And I don't think these are things people are cognizant of. You just gone viral in the video, but you ain't getting none of the rewards of that video being posted.
Exactly.
And so if you have thoughts or comments on that, I don't want to put you in a compromise.
No, you're fine. One, every company has a social media policy. Okay. So if you see flight attendants doing things and posting things, those are by their choice. And my thing is always, before you post it, think about the outcome and where it can go and what it can affect. As far as when you see things like from a customer standpoint, I always tell people there's 3 sides to the truth. Right. And a lot of times when you see recordings, people don't actually record until the situation is heightened. And a lot of times at the end of the day, when you're a flight attendant, you have to be calculating your thought process because we live in such an era of, let me pull my phone out. Let me pull my phone out. And another thing is a lot of airlines have a policy about passengers recording staff. And that's so there are a lot of times where passengers are in the wrong. Like you cannot record staff. It is a violation of some people's privacy. Right. And sometimes you don't know if you're recording something sensitive that should not be shown to the public. Right. But when you see videos like that, I always tell people to just take a step back and think about things because you genuinely don't know the full side. And I'll give you an example. I had a friend when I first started. She sent me a video of a girl who made a recording because they hadn't taken off yet, and she asked the flight attendant for oxygen because she suffers from sickle cell. The thing is, yes, we have oxygen masks on the plane. But when we're administering those, we're not doctors. Some of us are nurses and some of us are doctors, but we still have a protocol to follow. Right. And those are solely for emergencies. And I'm aware that the girl asked because she was trying to prevent an emergency. But right now, what you're telling me is that you're not safe to fly. And there is so much that has to go into me giving you oxygen before I can actually give it to you. Right. So, she tried to make it as if the airline didn't care about her and they put her off the flight. But we were concerned about you because if you get up in the air, sometimes once you're a certain distance, we have no option but to keep going because there's nowhere to turn around. We can't land in the middle of the ocean. So I always tell people when you see stuff on social media, take it with a grain of salt because you don't know the full side of the story. For sure. You weren't there. And once again, once something escalates, that's when all the phones are coming out. For sure. And no, I love the example you gave because I feel like that's in many industries. Because individuals think that customer service means acquiesce to every demand. Exactly. That ain't what it means, especially in banking and finances. Listen, you don't dictate what it looks like because we have to factor in factors not just about you specifically, but factors about an entire population. Or there's a lot of calculated things that go into the decisions that have to be made. So to your point. In my mind, it goes to if you want oxygen, that's for emergency use. That's not for us. Oh, you can't breathe. Let me give you oxygen. Yes. No. And I feel like that happens in so many industries because people feel so entitled to I'm the customer, so I'm always right. And I genuinely started to be like, especially coming, when I was doing restaurants and you doing bars and stuff like that. I'm like, that industry, cool. You might have your way with everybody in that industry. But in banking, flight, in the airlines, policy, safety, healthcare field, you are not the one who knows best. You don't get to dictate in terms of what it looks like. And granted, it's not to diminish your value or your input or anything, but you don't know all the things that these people have to come up with on the fly to make sure they're doing the right thing under stressful conditions. And I feel like as a society, we don't give grace because we feel like, oh, I'm a sue. Or you know what I mean? Quick to feel like you have the leverage and the power in that moment if you don't get your way. And I feel like you gave a perfect example of what that looks like for your industry. And it's crazy that,
like you said, the phones be out.
Yes.
Have you ever had a passenger interaction that truly meant the world to you because you just enjoyed, however it went or played out?
I did. I had a lady, and I think it's something I work on because I always tell people, I'm like, I don't have empathy or sympathy. Like, it's something like, I feel like I come off cold sometimes because I'm very logical about emotions. But I had a lady and she was having like a full-fledged meltdown. We had turbulence and like she was panicking and I didn't really have much to say to her. We were mid-air and she was in a row by herself. So I told her to slide over and I just sat there with her. Gotcha. We didn't have any conversation. We didn't anything. I just sat there with her and I'm like, you're going to be fine. Right. And when we got off, she was just like, she was like, thank you. Right. Thank you. And I didn't think it was anything. I'm like, let me just sit here to keep you calm, right, to show you that I'm not nervous. And she was just like, thank you. And it was, lo and behold, she was flying to, I think her daughter had got sick or needed emergency surgery and she doesn't fly, but the only way to get to her fast was to fly. Right. And she was going to see her daughter. But yes. And she just was like, she was just so thankful. Yeah. And she even sent an email, so I felt good too. But I didn't think it had much of impact because there weren't any words exchanged.
For sure. No, and honestly, I love that. And again, I always correlate that to my industry. A lot of times it's the very small, subtle things that people value the most. And I call it going above and beyond. To you, it doesn't feel like it's you doing a lot, but to that person, it could mean the world. Yes. So for you to share that, I think that is huge because a lot of times just being intentional about doing the right thing leads to those type of rewards, even though that may not have been your intention at all. So, exactly. I definitely have that mindset as well. So from a warm and cuddly conversation to a little more serious, we've all been recently in tune and aware of the different flights and things going on with planes that have been a little shocking and traumatizing to many. Especially to people who don't fly, and for people who do fly, even more so because you never know. So while I always wish people safe travel and mercies, it's a little, it's a little tough to see the things we've been seeing, and with the frequency we've been seeing them. So I guess if I'm just gonna cut to the chase and be blunt. How do you handle seeing some of the things we see from a news standpoint with all these different planes and crashes and just the craziness? I don't even want to.
It's the same thing I'll say with the flight attendants being recorded. Social media heightens things.
For sure.
My thing I have to do is I pray to God when I'm working that I'm safe. And I take it one day at a time. Okay. I take it one day at a time. I make sure that I'm up to date on what my role is if an emergency or a situation like that was to happen. And I make sure I keep up to date with those things. Right. And I will leave people with this. At the end of the day, you still are safer in an aircraft than you are in a plane. There are so many things that go into place before that aircraft can take off. There are so many things that the pilot has to do. Air traffic control, the people on the ground, the flight attendants. And you'll be surprised what the smallest things are that they'll say, nope, that aircraft's not getting in the air. I also tell people, take a moment and think. If we showed every car accident that happens, you would never get in a car. And the other thing is with the car, when you get in that car, people always say, oh, I like driving because I'm in control. You're in control, but what about the person that may slam into the back of you or run the stoplight? Even with airplanes and how they get inspected, you don't get an inspection, every 3-4 months? If something breaks in that time, what's the likelihood of you getting it fixed right away? Right. So I always tell people, just be mindful of that. And whatever your spiritual or non-spiritual choice is, do what you need to do to calm yourself. But my number one rule for all these things is please listen to the flight attendants. When we're telling you to do something, it's not because we feel like we have power. It's because all these things are put into place based on years of research and things. And don't get me wrong, yes, unfortunately, there can be accidents that happen, like the one in DC where that unfortunately was just a freak accident where there is no control of saving anybody. But with the Endeavor situation, yes, you had a few minor injuries, but all of those people made it out safe.
Yeah.
And the most upsetting thing that I saw from it was the amount of people that needed to record that moment.
Yeah.
Like, this is a life or death situation. What people don't realize is when something like that happens, we have 90 seconds to get everybody out of the aircraft, no matter what size it is.
I ain't gonna hold you. And again, I want to preface by I've never been in that situation, so I don't know what I'd really do. But I'd like to think, damn, pulling my phone out. I'm trying to make sure this thing don't blow up. And I'm trying to get the hell out of there.
Yes.
But that's me, so.
But I'm like, I finally watched the video.
Okay.
And I'm like, I saw so many people. I'm like, why are you recording? This is like life or death. Like,
right.
We need to get you out.
I'm sorry. I'll record after I know I'm safe.
Yeah, exactly. But I get it. Your phone, please sometimes just tap into life.
Right.
And my number one rule is if the flight attendants are telling you to do something, it is genuinely for your safety.
And you said a lot of amazing things there. But my first thought went to when you brought up the phone. It's crazy how many people will know that, if I get this moment recorded, I'm about to make bank from social media. I'm about to get bank from the news outlets. It's so crazy that the monetary value we see in that moment when our life is crazy.
But they don't think about the downfall. Like that moment that you took to get out your phone, you may be blocking somebody behind you that doesn't move as fast, and now they're holding somebody up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Or that could have been a moment that you could have took to help somebody that needed a little bit more help to get out.
Yeah. So shout out to the individuals or the attendants and everybody.
Yes, they did a good job.
In that situation. And the other thing you said that I loved was you hit the nail on the head, because I wasn't asking that question in regards to like try to deter people from flying or anything like that, but I wanted the perspective of someone who deals with it so often, so frequently, because I feel like we allow so many people who don't have the necessary experience or education to dictate our terms and mood about a specific thing. So for me to be honest, the cheapest and the fastest is still what I'm shooting for when it goes to my travel. But having your level of knowledge and expertise means the world, because now, it gives me more context and it's more valid context, as opposed to listening to people who have no idea. They're just saying their opinions, spitting out whatever they want to say to skew people's thought process and mindset. And I feel like we're getting so far into that world where everybody has a platform, so everybody's going to say what they think and feel, but there's no context, there's no substance, there's no research, no education, no analytics. There's no substance other than, I just want to say this because this is what I feel, and I'm going to just say it. And you have that right, but keep in mind, you don't know who's listening who will now take that and run with it.
Push that narrative out there, what they're taking in. And a lot of people, that's the quickest way to get people, is to allow them to live in fear.
For sure.
Yeah, and there's so much out there that's a lie, but so much out there that's the truth. And you do have to take that time to dictate and weed and see what's real and what's not. And
then the last thing I was thinking as you were speaking is you are just as polished and well-spoken and versed as I remember you back.
Oh, thank you. That comes from the airline. They beat that into you.
And no, it tells that, it's a level of training that many would, love to have and be polished in. It's just being able to articulate your thoughts and say it in a way that's understanding and meaningful and impactful. So kudos to you, because that is definitely a skill that many don't have.
It's practice.
For sure. And then last thing about this situation, because I want to be sensitive to it. How do you feel you would handle, and I don't want to preface this by saying you haven't dealt with any emergency situations yet, but how do you feel you would handle, God forbid this, and I pray this does not happen for your entire career, but if you were ever in those situations or elements, what do you, that's a difficult question to ask, but
I can always say how I'll handle it, but at the end of the day, you never know. But however, my main thing will always be to stick to the tools that my job has given me.
Gotcha.
Stick to the protocol. Like I know some people like bending the rules, but at the end of the day, when it comes to safety, stick to what you were given.
Right.
And that's just what I'm going to have to do in those situations. I'm going to have to stick to what I'm given. And I also am going to have to remember that, like, when this situation happens, it's not just about me getting out safe, because just like I have a family to go home to, so does everybody on that aircraft.
For sure. Yep.
And at the end of the day, when I took this job and I signed that contract and I completed the training, I made it my goal to take care of the people that are on my aircraft.
Right. And I love that. And the reason why I kind of asked that question in the manner I did, because having a banking background, we're constantly trained yearly on how to handle if your bank gets robbed. So knowing, while it's different, obviously, and
it's actually the same every year. I go next month. We call it recurrent, and you go and they go through every single drill. And believe it or not, there are people that work there, and they're like, "You don't know what you're doing. It's time for you to go." For
sure.
And they take it that serious.
For sure. And thankfully, I've never been in a robbery situation, but it was something I was always cognizant of when they happened. Like, all right, let me make sure I know what to do. Granted, like you said, it's different. You can think you know what you're going to do, but until you're in that moment, you just have no idea. But I like to think I was prepared and educated enough to know what options were available to me per the company. And then obviously if there's something happens that, I think they do a great job trying to hit on everything that could,
Yeah.
But still, everything's a wild card.
And same with me. They give us the tools, but there are those wild cards.
Yeah. So, So hopefully you guys do learn something from that conversation. So the industry and future goals. When we're talking about the industry, I'm not gonna hold you. When I did my research about the industry, I believe an airline that I don't really want to name just laid off or is laying off about 1,700 people, I thought I saw. And I only bring that up just if you have any thoughts. I don't want to put you in any compromising positions, but I feel like it's hard to really navigate what this industry is going to look like as different leadership in the country's taking hold, how many things, with all the laws and, just a lot of different. And then, we're seeing with these, these companies are being sued and there's a lot of legality. So I question and preface this by saying, what are your feelings about what you see? Because I know you do an amazing job of being knowledgeable on your social when you post things about helping people who want to get into your industry, just news articles about your industry. I guess just to simplify the question, what are your thoughts and feelings about things that you see in the industry, and what is your hopes for the future of it?
So honestly, it's the same thing I tell my peers. We got to take it a day at a time.
Right.
We can only control what we can control. I have friends who are in government jobs, who have husbands in government jobs, and they're in fear for their jobs.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where I take it one day at a time, and I do what I can control. Right. As far as the aviation industry, there's always layoffs. We always have periods where it's layoffs. There's a few companies, including my company, that may be overstaffed, understaffed. It's just a working motion with the industry. I think it's heightened more with our industry because it is a job that people can get burnt out from.
Yeah.
I would just say it's not a job that's not for everybody. It has to be, leading back to what I said before, you have to really want this. And I think it's one of my favorite quotes from Jerry Seinfeld from the Wale album. You can't be ready for anything because you've never done it until you actually do it.
Right.
And that's just what it was. There were a number of things that were going to make me quit this job that had nothing to actually do with the job. It was just stuff that came with it.
Gotcha.
And I questioned it daily. Now I wouldn't give it up for the world. They're going to have to push me out.
Gotcha. I love that. And no, I appreciate your candidness and authenticity when you say how you feel about it, because a lot of times I feel like people stay away from stuff because of the propaganda, the media, the things that they see, and they don't really get the full knowledge or research based on what it looks like and feels like for people who are actually in it. So for you to be able to share that, hopefully that quells people's thoughts momentarily to say, you know what, let me not take this and run with it. Let me go do some research. Let me ask some people. Let me do some digging. And I feel like we're getting so far removed from people actually digging up solid leads, information. Journalistic integrity what is that?
It's not there anymore.
So as far as skills and qualities that make someone a good flight attendant, I think you've demonstrated a ton of them today. But what do you think makes the best flight attendant?
I would say you have to be open-minded. You have to be a team player, because regardless of what you think, this is actually a job where everybody, no matter whether you're a pilot, a ground crew, a gate agent, everybody needs to work together.
Wow.
You definitely have to have people skills. And my biggest thing is you have to be somebody, I say this to everybody because it can affect your day. Everybody is dealing with something, no matter what it is. Everybody, whether it's depression, something at home, a mother sick, in your story, your situation doesn't take away from anybody else's situation, just like theirs doesn't take away from yours. But when you do this job, you do kind of have to leave some of those things at the aircraft door, because once you get on, all they see is that you're here working, and they don't know those things. And that applies to passengers as well. You might have somebody that's totally rude that just had a bad day, and no, it's not an excuse, but at the end of the day, you're the professional and you signed up for it.
For sure.
So I say that you have to be somebody, you have to learn to leave certain things at the door, and you actually have to enjoy being around people, because when you're working, you see a ton of different people, even peers. I've worked with a lady. I worked with her one time. I haven't seen this lady in 3 years.
Gotcha.
So you could see a number of different people just with your peers and passengers. So you have to be able to have those people skills.
Gotcha. So I'm going to switch goals and angles here real quick, because this is financial literacy with TC. So we've already established you save a little bit of money. I say that tongue in cheek. A little bit of money traveling. So what does the finances, and I don't, it's not to get too personal with it.
No,
but what does that look like for you when it comes to, I'm saving a lot of bread on this, and this? What kind of financial structure or disciplines have you put into your life? And that could be anything from, budgeting, investment, like anything you feel comfortable sharing. Because I feel like, and I kind of want to give you time to think about your answer, but I kind of want to give people a perspective of, and I always use this analogy, it does not matter how much money you make if you are terrible with your spending habits.
Exactly.
And what you spend money on. So you can live a lavish lifestyle, make great money, and those things mean you're still broke. So
for me in the beginning, I chose vibes.
Okay.
Don't ever do that. Because one, as a flight attendant, in the beginning, you do not make money.
Okay.
You do not make money. I do work for one of the airlines that doesn't pay as much.
Oh, okay.
You moving with some of our new contract things and moving into my third year in the position that I took, it did help me, but I'm still not getting paid as most airline employees can. If you don't know how to save or budget, you will struggle in this job. Thankfully for me, before I left, I was at a job where I was there for 5 years. So when I went into the industry, I had my retirement.
Nice.
And it helped me a lot in the beginning. There ain't much left now, but it did help me a lot in the beginning. But the biggest goal is you do need to have a budget. You need to have a budget with this job. And you also need to know what you can do. Be realistic with your financial means.
Yeah.
Because I've been that flight attendant where I'm on a layover and I got $2 in my bank account. And it's like, what am I going to eat?
Right.
And I fill up on airplane snacks, or, luckily a senior person was like, let me take you out to lunch. And I've worked with people who they were honest about it. Like they were like, I just don't have it because I'm a new flight attendant. So I always tell people you have to be in tune with your finances. And if you're already financially bad with money, you can struggle coming into this industry.
I love that.
You can struggle. Yes, there is money out there to make, but in the beginning, you are at the company's hands and you're not always constantly working.
Right.
And your pay is different. The average person works 80 hours a week, 40 hours a week. Mm-hmm. As a flight attendant, you're guaranteed 75 hours a month.
Ooh.
Exactly. Exactly. So when you're not flying, you miss out on things because we get things like a per diem and not a base pay. You get extra pay depending upon the position you work, extra pay if you do an international flight. But if you're what they call a reserve person, meaning you're on call, and it's for now, it's the winter. There's not a lot of flights going out. People don't travel as much. You're sitting at home. So all they're paying you is that $75 base pay for the month, 75 hours, which is nothing.
Ooh, yeah.
So it is a job where you need to think about your finances before jumping into it.
Yes. And I appreciate you sharing that and being candid about it because again, I don't talk a ton about my ventures outside of the podcast, but I do when it's relevant. But I'm a financial advisor. So a lot of times my goal is to meet people where they're at with their finances and talk about strategies and concepts that can help them be better. And that looks different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you sharing that because many people jump into an industry and don't understand what it fully looks like from a financial standpoint. They only see the initial I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be, but they don't really understand what it's going to look like. And I do a lot of speaking engagements for UPMC and their training programs. And a lot of times those are new trainees getting ready to get into the hospitals for whatever their position is. And I always try to tell them, you probably took this job because you're going to be making more money and have better benefits than where you were previously. But understand that with more money and the same bad spending habits, you're still in the same place.
Yeah, and then you see more money, so you spend
more.
And that's the thing with our job. It's like you're in these places, you're in these different places, you're on layovers, you want to hang out and you see people doing stuff, but that's another thing, you gotta have that confidence to be like, I'm gonna just stay in my room, or I packed the lunch today and I'm gonna eat my meal, because you can't, if you're doing a layover and you're on a 4-day trip and you go out drinking every day, getting a $6 and $10 bill plus a $12 meal, there you go. Yep. Yeah. So it is, you do have to have discipline. If you are not already financially disciplined, you will struggle, because I struggled in the beginning. I had to buckle down. And I'll be honest, I had to apply when I first started. I got a little crazy with my credit cards. I had to apply. They have a credit union that you can apply for as a flight attendant. And I had to apply for a hardship loan to help pay down some bills.
I appreciate you sharing that.
So it was hard. I cannot lie. I tell people all the time, just because you see me on vacation, you don't know the month, how I had to work 30 plus hours in a month just to take that vacation, or how I planned out the vacation. You may see the pictures, but a lot of those, I just recently went to Jamaica. I paid on that for a whole year. I didn't just up and fly to Jamaica.
Right.
So, yeah.
I love that. No, and truth be told, I appreciate your ability and willingness to share that, because I think that's a huge lesson people can take away. Like, you looking at all these people on social, they show you what they want you to see. Mm-hmm. You don't know what went into them being in that position, or, if it's even something where they don't got massive debt to go along with it. So I appreciate that. So as we get ready to wrap up, you are enjoying your career. I took that from this. And then, so what does the next several years or the entire career span look like?
For me, it's so crazy, because I had somebody ask me this the other day, like, how long do you plan on being a flight attendant? So with a flight attendant, they don't have a set retirement age. As long as you are, as long as you can physically do your job, you can keep your job. So I always tell people, I said, I want to work until I can't lift up the ice, and they're like, you got to go. But I have been trying to save. My goal is to either live in another country, or possibly, I don't want to own a home, but I would love to own like a condo or a loft. Okay. So I've been trying to figure out which direction I want to go, because I'm like, with the job, I can always become what we call a commuter. So I can always fly in to work. But I'm like, I've seen so much of the world, and I'm like, why not take advantage of living somewhere else? So that is what I've been working on, like doing my research and seeing where I really want to live and be.
So because I know you and I have a special place for you in my heart because of our relationship, I just came up with this. You can choose to not answer, or you can choose to. What does the family life situation look like? Relationship, kids, things of that nature. So, because it's not easy.
No, I'll be honest. Yeah. So I know a lot of people who do the job with kids, and I commend them. Support system, it sounds like, is their go-to. So if you're somebody that has kids, don't let it discourage you. For me, no matter what career I had, I never wanted a kid.
Okay.
Husband, yes.
Okay.
But it's weird. People are like, they have that stereotype of flight attendants, you know, the promiscuous lifestyle. For me, no, because a lot of times you get on these layovers, you're tired, you're this and that. But I will say dating has been harder because of the stereotype, and then the fact that I am always, not even just for pleasure, but for work, I am gone. I'm constantly in different time zones.
Right.
So for me, it's been hard finding a person that has an understanding of my career.
Right.
But I would like to, you know, have a husband, travel the world, live out of the country.
Yeah.
But family, kids, no.
No, and
I'm like,
honestly, I love that because I feel like it is important to have those things in mind when you embark on whatever that relationship's going to look like with whoever. And I remember, to go back to our past, we did a speed dating. I think you hosted it.
Yes, speed dating. Yes,
that was before my wife. But that was a fun time, and I remember, you know, and again, you weren't doing what you were doing now. So
no, I wasn't.
Our lives evolved based on a lot of different things. Just because I, you know, care for you as a friend, I wanted to make sure. I gotta ask her, even though
I don't know. I think we had. I was going out with another friend. He goes by Fu, but a lot of people. I mean, some people have found people to date from our speed dating events. We haven't gotten these success stories back, but speed dating was a fun time, and it was also a lot of people used it to network, which I appreciate.
I know I did.
Like, a lot of people met different business people from it. So it worked out. It was nice. I was like, was something to bring to the city for, you know, our brown and black people. Yeah. But I
don't think I've been to another one since.
So. No, I've seen people like try to do them, but some people were like, they weren't that great. So
yeah, I mean, you gotta have a network to pull it off. I feel like you and the gentleman. I'm sorry, Fu. Thank you. Yeah, I think y'all had a good, because it was a good turnout.
Yeah, it was. It was a good turnout for a while, and then I don't know what happened. So, but that's like with any business adventure.
For sure. I don't even remember what was going on. But anyway. So lastly, I'll leave you with this. The galley queen. That was a fun thing I saw on your social.
So yes, that is a position that you can work on the aircraft.
Okay.
That is one of the good things about the job. Once you're so far in the industry, you have a lot of control over your schedule, what position you work on the aircraft. When you work, like I had a friend, he just took off for 6 months. He's like, I'm tired, I'm bored, but he still keeps his benefits.
Nice.
And he has been enjoying it. But I like to work what we call the galley clean. So that means that you're in charge of making sure the galley is clean, helping set up the carts. If you're on an aircraft that has an oven, you will be the person that puts the food in the oven and plates the food to make sure it gets out at a timely manner. I prefer that because although, yes, the job still entails teamwork, I have a system in place and I have a speed, and I like to organize things. Okay. So I don't mind talking to the customers, but if I could have a moment to have a break and not be out there, I would prefer that. So yes, I like to work what is called the galley queen position. So if you're in first class, that means you're plating the food and putting it out. Or if you're in the back, that means you're getting the snacks together, making sure you stock. And keep in mind, my airline, that's how that position is done. It may not be how it's done on another airline. It switches from airline to airline down to the number of the positions, the flights that you work. It's all different.
Got you.
Yes.
I love that. And I thought that was my last. I ain't gonna hold you.
Okay, no, you're fine.
What's the longest flight you've done, and what's that like?
For work or pleasure?
Both.
Okay, for pleasure, it was definitely Bali.
Okay.
I went from, so it's two. I'm based in Boston. I live in Boston. I went from Boston to Hong Kong. Ooh. And when you work in this industry, this is where the not so pretty side comes. Okay. When you're flying on your benefits, your seat is not guaranteed. So you could get to a plane and they're like, nope, we're sold out of seats.
Ooh.
And a lot of times you have to take what seat they give you. So I did from Boston to Hong Kong in a middle seat for 14 hours and 45 minutes in core. No, surprisingly, the one girl was my friend. The other girl, I did not know her, but we were cuddled up like we were friends at some point. But yes, I did that for 14 hours and 45 minutes to Hong Kong.
See, that's my thing. I don't know if I can, that's a long time.
It was surprisingly, I slept a lot.
Okay.
I slept a lot, so it worked out. But
I'm definitely,
yes.
And I'm not a fan of medication, but I'm probably going
no, my friend gave me like a melatonin pill, so it helped out. I think I slept for like 8 hours, was up for a meal, and then took another nap. Okay. So it didn't go too bad.
Okay, that's
for work wise, I can't remember if I was coming or going, but I know it was Amsterdam, and weather and wind can determine how long the flight is. And since the wind was working against us, the flight was longer, so it was like 9 hours. Gotcha. But on those flights, you get a nap. Okay. So it worked out. We did our little service. I think my nap was like 1 hour, 45 minutes. But yeah, the longest flight I worked was 9 hours. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. And with the work you do, it actually goes fast. Okay. So
I love that. Cool. So I appreciate you because I think we got a lot of good information. I think I learned a lot of things I wanted to know. So I am excited and ecstatic. So we're going to wrap it up. I do want to make sure that, because I know you have amazing content about your industry and just about you in general. I do want you to leave people with your social media, whatever you want them to have.
Okay, so for all of them, I don't have Twitter. Okay. For Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, I'm on there as my first and middle name, Aneice London. Yes. Aneice, in London the traditional way. I tend to post if I'm traveling or content on there. I also am one of those people. I'm not mean. If you have questions about something, DM me. Give me a few days to answer because I have flight attendant brain. So, and I'm always in a different time zone. But yeah, if you have any questions, I am very comfortable with answering. My only one rule is do not come in my inbox asking for no buddy pass. Okay. Okay, because there's a lot that goes into that, and I don't want to lose my job. Right. I do not give out buddy passes.
Yeah, I heard it. Don't be
and a lot of times they ain't worth it because your seat's not guaranteed. So, but yes, that is my only rule. Do not ask me for a buddy pass or travel benefits.
For sure. All right, y'all. That's Financial Literacy with TC. I want to thank my guest, Aneice London.
Thank you. Yes.
She's an awesome person, awesome friend, and she definitely is doing her thing in the industry. So if you are interested in becoming a flight attendant, tap in with her, like she said, and then make sure you are really understanding what it's going to look like if you want to get into that industry. Hopefully this information that we share helps you guys get more insight. Again, this is about Black representation in different industries that we don't see highlighted and elevated enough. And this is Financial Literacy with TC. I'm your boy TC. I'll see you on the next one.
Yes.
I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, Oh, I'm on a pod with TC, I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where.